When you put Jane Austen on the screen, particularly if you put Colin Firth in tight breeches and a cravat, something magical happens. Overnight, Austen's popularity exploded, and it's continued ever since. Why is it that Jane Austen's novels speak to us so strongly after 200 years? It's because she was a brilliant craftsman, and because she wrote with such a wonderful sense of irony and humor, and a great understanding of character about real people in recognizable circumstances. It's because all her characters wrestle with familiar social and emotional problems that we still confront on a daily basis. But most importantly, she wrote about what people risk when they fall in love, a topic anyone can relate to at any time. I think the popular Victorian novelist Anthony Trollope said it best. He wrote, "Miss Austen was surely a great novelist. What she did perfectly. Of heroes and heroines with wonderful adventures, there are none in her novels. Of great criminals and hidden crimes, she tells us nothing. But she places us in a circle of gentlemen and ladies and charms us while she tells us with an unconscious accuracy how men should act to women and women act to men. It is not that her people are all good, and certainly they are not all wise. The faults of some are the anvils on which the virtues of others are hammered till they are bright as steel. In the comedy of folly, I know no novelist who has beaten her." Jane Austen never married. Many historians have asked, how can it be that this woman, who gave the world such delightful and romantic stories, never fell in love herself or was loved in return? Is it possible that Jane Austen had a love affair the world never knew about? Most of what we know of Jane Austen's life and heart has been gleaned from her preserved correspondence. Cassandra and Jane exchanged frequent newsy letters whenever they were apart. However, a few years before Cassandra died, she burned many of Jane's letters and cut out parts of the few remaining. What was Cassandra trying to hide? Might those letters have contained descriptions of persons and events of a very private nature? It is that question that inspired me to write my novel, The Lost Memoirs of Jane Austen. The book began life as a screenplay. At the time, I'd written 9 TV movies in a row, and I wanted to write something different, something I felt passionate about. I loved Jane Austen. Sense and Sensibility and Colin Firth, and that version of Pride and Prejudice were 2 of my favorite films. I'd just seen Shakespeare in Love again, and I thought, what about a love story for Jane Austen? Why hasn't anyone done that? As a writer, I felt a kinship with Jane. I read her books all over again. I read every Jane Austen biography I could find. When I read her surviving letters, I noticed a 2-year gap when Jane was in her early 30s. I couldn't help but wonder, what happened during those missing years? I was also inspired by a now famous and very cryptic story Cassandra told her niece Carolyn many years after Jane's death. She admitted that Jane had once loved someone, a gentleman she met in the early 1800s while on holiday at a seaside resort. Who was that mysterious man? I decided to write the movie I wanted to see, the secret love affair that had influenced Jane Austen's return to writing and every one of her future novels. Her romance with the one true, great love of her life, a romance that, for good reason, she kept hidden from the world. I plotted out a timetable of where Jane was and when, and then I interwove the facts of Jane's life with my story, determined that everything could have happened exactly the way I wrote it.